Buckshot kind of looked at me and looked at Buddy, and he said, but we're going to have a halter for every horse. He said, well, I don't know why. Said, ain't none of them halter broke. Well, this is a story about the history of horses, and one of the old horse breeders that was a big deal up in Alamosa, Colorado. His name was Hank Wiescamp, and he had Skipper W, and he line bred Skipper W in everything he had. One time he had sold a lot of mares to a man in Clay Center, Kansas. And this man from Clay Center had contacted John Carlisle in Amarillo, Texas about having a dispersal sale. And he had about 40 Skipper W mares. He had about 40 Skipper W bred yearlings and about 40 two-year-olds. And it was going to be a big sale. John Carlisle, in talking to him, could tell he wasn't really a horseman much. And so he sent myself and Buckshot Benson and Buddy Gill. Buckshot Benson and Buddy Gill were two young men from Louisiana, where Ike Hamilton was from. And they worked at every sale John Carlisle had. And I was a ring man, and I worked at every sale John Carlisle had. And so he set us up there. We got up there on Thursday evening, and he said, now y'all may have to help this guy clip these horses or do something like that with them. So we got up there and we got out to this guy's house on Friday, and Buckshot says, okay, Mr. So-and-so, said, where are your halters? And he said, it's right here. And Buckshot kind of looked at me and looked at Buddy, and he said, but we're going to have a halter for every horse. He said, well, I don't know why. Said, ain't none of them halter broke. And we were planning, John Carlisle was planning on having this sale there at the ranch in a tent. But with 100 head of unbroke horses, unhalter broke horses, that would be impossible. So John Carlisle, we got a hold of him, and he said, well, go look and see if there's a sale barn in town where we could have an auction and try to rent it for tomorrow, because that's when the sale was advertised. We did find a sale barn, and we hauled all the horses in there, and it took quite a while to do that. And the sale started the next morning, and Hank Wiescamp was there. He was 80 years old or 80 something, but he was there at the sale. He was a rather conservative gentleman, I guess you'd say, and that's when Geraldine Ferrara, that was in 1984, when Geraldine Ferrara was Walter Mondale's running mate for vice president. And oh, he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He kept running off about, how you going to vote for that woman, or what's going to happen here. And it was quite an experience. We ended up having a pretty good sale. Sonny Thomason was there. Some of the other guys that knew that these Skipper W horses were worth some money, but they didn't know that these weren't halter broke. So until they got there. But anyway, it was a fun experience.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode of Horse Stories on Global Horse Network. We'd like to thank this month's sponsor, the Mustang Heritage Foundation. If you like what we're doing, be sure and click that like button. If you want to leave a comment, be sure and comment below, but be kind because my ego is fragile. You want to be sure to ring that bell if you want to be notified when we're posting new content. And as always, if you want to be part of the Global Horse Network team, be sure and subscribe above.